Hey everyone, today we're going to be going over the Z31 front crossmember. We're going to go over what's included, the construction of the crossmember, our QC process, as well as base settings and color options for the crossmember. First, we're going to go over what's included. With the front crossmember, you're going to get the crossmember itself, pair of the motor mounts, the bump steer spacers, pair of the upper and lower rack clamps, as well as hardware packs for the front crossmember and a hardware pack for the motor mounts. Next, we're going to go over the construction. This is a steel designed crossmember with a tubular center, as well as a jack pad, making this crossmember extremely light, but very robust. The next is also going to be the motor mounts. The motor mounts are steel as well, with weight reduction pocketing found throughout. The rack clamps are billet aluminum, as well as the steel rack clamp spacers. Next, we're going to go over the QC process. First and foremost, we want to make sure that the packing list is accurate, make sure there's no missing parts, that the customer received all the items, the crossmember, the motor mounts, the rack clamps, the hardware sheets, anything that he has ordered. Next is going to be the hardware sheet. We want to make sure there's nothing missing from the hardware sheet. If there's small items that might be missing or might be on back order, we want to try to make sure the customer is aware of that before shipping. Next is going to be the cosmetic threshold. Now these parts are fully powder coated, so we want to make sure there's no major scratches, dings, or dents in the powder coated finish. Something to consider is that we do have to hook the items themselves, so sometimes you might see a small cosmetic hook mark. We do try to use a paint pen to clear that up, but it is something to consider. Next is going to be our hole tolerances. Something that you should consider is that we do try to keep our powder coat as consistent as we can. In certain hard to reach areas, you might notice that the powder might be a little bit thicker, or you might have to apply a little more pressure to get the bolt to go through. Now we have a key here that we check all the holes with, especially the ones that go into certain bolt holes. And we double check to see what they are compared to the chassis hole tolerances as well. And the next set of holes that we check is the alignment specs on these. We want to make sure that these are free and clear of any weld spatter or debris, so then the customer is able to install the crossmember very easily. And finally, we're going to be making sure that these will fit onto the chassis themselves. Now we 3D scanned a few Z31s as well as looked at factory rebuild manuals, and we came up with this design, which mimics where the factory chassis would mount to. Now our holes are slotted, so they do allow for a little variance in them, but this will ensure that our products will also fit onto the factory Z31 chassis. Now if your Z31's ever been in an accident, or you have questions on whether or not this will fit, give us a call or shoot us an email so we can get you these exact distances, so then you're able to see if it fits onto your car before you purchase. And the last part that you should be aware of is if you're going to be running the factory front lower control arm, you may have to trim a little bit around the bushing on the factory front lower control arm. If you're running our front lower control arm or most aftermarkets, there's zero modification that's required. But if you are running the factory, that is something to know. Now, finally is going to be our base settings. If you're running within 2 inches lowered of factory ride height, you can go ahead and use the lowest control arm mount. As you lower your car, you're going to want to raise this up. Usually about every inch and a half that you lower the car, you can raise it up 1 increment. Next step is going to be where to mount your rack clamp. We recommend going it in the middle hole. You're going to use these rack clamp spacers. Now these spacers are really handy when you lower the car. The lower you want to go and reduce your bumps here, you can use these spacers to raise your rack or lower your rack. But to start off, if you're running close to factory ride height, you can use 0 spacers or maybe 1 spacer. The lower you go, you want to increase the amount of spacers. And finally, we're going to go over our color options. This is our gloss gray. It's a very beautiful neutral color. We do offer a ton of different colors available. Take a look at the video up here to look at the different color options that we have, and a video down here to get a detailed installation instructions. And as always, if you have any questions, give us a call or shoot us an email. Thanks.